So if you're an expert, if you're a consultant, if you're a coach, whatever that may be, and you have a particular expertise, and this is important, you need to have a particular expertise, a particular area of knowledge where you can assist people, then this video will show you how you can actually start creating cash flow pretty quickly in your business and ultimately hone your skills at the same time. Now, if you don't yet have a course, if you don't yet have a product, if you don't yet have a program, but you are knowledgeable, if you are kind of skilled in your particular area, then this may well be something that you want to consider. The reason I share it is because it is the way that I started, or at least it's a strategy that I adopted within the first few months of lockdown back in 2020. So yeah, it's 3 years ago, but the strategy still works. And I think if there was a particularly slow period in the business, or if I was maybe pivoting to a new direction, then this is probably one of the first things that I would adopt if I was going to start again. And what that was, it was offering strategy sessions. Now you might think, okay, Jake, we've all heard of strategy sessions. What is that, a sales call? No, it is actually a strategy session. And of course, to get to that strategy session, then you probably do need a sales call or some kind of conversation beforehand, because that's how you're going to get people into those strategy sessions. And yes, I would do it through a sales call rather than any other route. There's other videos and other trainings and other podcast episodes about why we talk about the value of sales calls and why sales calls are significantly greater than most other sales strategies and such. But in this, I really want to look at how you can actually start creating an income. And I'm going to share specifically what we did to get this done. So what we specialized in and still do was helping people grow and monetize on Instagram. And the particular process that we have to help people grow and monetize on Instagram is called the Rocket System. Some of you may be familiar. If this is the first time you've come across us, then you're welcome to go check it out. But the idea of the Rocket System is that it is a 6-step process to help individuals, personal brands, or companies grow and monetize on Instagram. And the way that this worked is, prior to, say, developing a program, we did have a course at the time, but certainly a way for us to generate quick cash flow was to actually start offering strategy sessions to people. So the way this would come about is we would have a conversation, we would have a sales call with people who were looking to build an audience and maybe monetize their Instagram. And we would present a few different options. So we say, well, there's a course that we've got that you're welcome to go through at your own pace, etc. We offer high-level mentoring, which is X amount. And we also offer personalized support. And the one that people generally go for is the personalized support. Why? Because they want a bespoke option done for them, or personalized to them, not necessarily done for them. Most people would like that, but they like it personalized to them. And so one of the best ways to do this, and what we found, was that we would offer 90-minute strategy sessions. Okay, so these were personalized to the individual or to the company, and we would do a 90-minute session. And during that period, we would ask them to do some prep work beforehand. So we would give them some materials, to go away and look at who their particular avatar was, their ideal client, who they were, what their goals were, where they wanted to get to with their account and such. A little bit of research into the account itself and where their audience were from, and all these various different things. So we asked them to do a little bit of prep, and then on that session we would clarify those particular details, and then we would go through the Rocket System with them. So we'd focus on R, which is the rebrand, and particular areas that they may want to focus on to reposition their particular brand, be it a personal brand or a business brand, and how they could then change that and make it relevant or more relevant for Instagram. O is optimizing their profile. So again, we would give them 2, 3, 4 specific strategies, very, very specific, personalized to them, about what they could do to improve their profile and how they were positioned. C is content. This would generally take a little bit longer, but that's okay because it's where people got the most value, which was content strategies and how they could have the generate consistent content, but then also how they could make sure their content was relevant to their audience, and it was actually hitting kind of getting a response and getting people to engage and interact. K, kickstart your growth. E, engagement formula, and T is time to monetize. And we would go through each of those steps, all 6 of those, within that 90-minute period. Now, some of the clients would get through ROC, And that was okay because maybe they were a little bit earlier on in the journey. Some clients that we spoke with were perhaps a little bit more advanced. They already had a really solid brand. Their profile looked great. We maybe had a little conversation about that, and they really wanted to focus on the content and then actually accelerating their growth. And other accounts were even further along, and they just looked at specific ways that they could time to monetize, specific ways that they could monetize their business. Now, the incredible thing about that is, firstly, because we had, and this is very important, because we had a particular process that we could follow. In our case, it's an acronym, it's Rocket. You don't have to have an acronym, but if you've got a process that you can follow, you can take people through that every single time. And I can't emphasize this enough. The process, the system, the kind of vehicle to get people from A to B stays the same. It doesn't matter if you're working with a coach or a consultant or somebody who's got a bricks and mortar business, or you're working with somebody who's in e-commerce, or if you're working with somebody who sells high ticket. It doesn't matter, because the process for them to get from A to B is the same. That's the fundamental thing. And so if you have a process, first of all, that is the thing that's going to allow you to do it. Obviously, you need to have a degree of knowledge and expertise. Now, I trust that you do. If you're watching this, then you would feel, I trust that you feel confident, sat down one-to-one with your ideal client in a position where you could help them get from where they are now to where they want to get to in the future, or at least map out a plan with them that they can then go and implement. And this is exactly how it worked on the 90-minute strategy sessions. Now, we actually started, I say this, some of our clients now will be like, what? But we actually started offering these for $97. Okay, we started doing those for $97. You might think, well, that's way cheap. It was. I believe it was, because the value that we gave people. But what would happen is we did it for $97, and then when we got 3 people who paid us $97, we increased it to $147. And then when we got 3 people who paid us $147, we increased it to $197. And then when we got 3 people that paid us $197, we increased it to, you get the idea, right? So we actually got to the stage where we were doing sessions, 90-minute sessions for about $597, where literally people would pay us $597 for 90 minutes. Now, for some people will hear that and think, Jake, this sounds like you're exchanging time for money. This sounds like active income. I don't want active income. I want passive income. Yeah, fine, you can get there. But if you don't have passive income right now, active income is coming first. There's almost no doubt about that whatsoever. And so this is a fantastic way to get that. Now, this is the power of this particular process. There are 2 elements. Firstly, I mentioned before, when you are on a sales call, or you have that initial conversation on a sales call. Now, if you say, oh, we've got mentoring and it is, let's say, high price, and then you say, we've got a course, but it is low price, you have to go through it yourself, you have to do the work, or we kind of offer personalized support, and you get 90 minutes with me, you get this, you get the recording, you get blah, 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 you get all these other things. What do people want? Generally, people go for the one in the middle, and they want the thing that sounds most personalized. Now, we coming from that conversation, people feel good about it because they think, well, that's good, because I didn't have to go for the high ticket coaching. I didn't have to go for that. I don't have to do this thing myself. I'm getting somebody sat down with me who is an expert in this area, and they're going to make sure it's personalized for me. That's exactly what we did. Now, the great thing about this is, remember that every single time we did this, I got better at it. I improved. So I felt, believe it or not, I was delivering, and you would probably expect this as well, but I was delivering significantly better quality training and content and support and advice and ideas and feedback and suggestions for people when they were paying $597 than perhaps when they were paying $97. But I was getting paid to go through that learning process to develop my own knowledge and experience. So that, again, is another real benefit that I would highly recommend that you do. And of course, at the end of that 90 minutes, people then want more, or you have the opportunity to give them more. So what we used to do is we would then say, I tell you what, we want to hold you accountable, and we want to make sure that you're going to follow through and do this. So let's book another time in complimentary in 2 weeks, where we will review your progress and perhaps look at 1 or 2 next steps that might be best suited for you. How does that sound? And generally, people say, yeah, absolutely. Why? Because it was a complimentary session. They wanted to make sure they'd followed through, that they implemented, that they had that accountability. They liked the idea of having another touch point. We had built up a lot of trust and relationship and goodwill in that 90 minutes, and they'd taken a lot of value from that session. So chances are, yes, they would come back and we would have that second conversation again. Now what that becomes is, if you like, another strategy call, or check my words there. This then becomes another sales call or opportunity for you to get in front of them and pitch again. So what you could then do, or what we would then do, is say, you've got that strategy. It doesn't look like you've implemented these things, or you've started to implement them, but I can see you've got a little bit off course. And naturally that's going to happen. When people don't have that close guidance and close support, they are naturally going to go a little bit off course. So you can then say, well, I tell you what, I think based on where you are so far, I'm still, believe that this is a great area for you to grow. You've taken some of the steps and implemented them. You clearly need a bit more support with this, that, and the other. Do you think you benefit from more support? Generally, people would say yes. And then this is the opportunity where you can offer them, again, either the course with a little bit more personalized support, or you offer them that mentoring. And what we would always do is we would say, do you know what I'll do? I will take off so I will minus, in this case it started to become 597, I will take away the 597 that you've already invested from your mentoring. So actually that mentoring that was X amount is now going to be significantly lower. And if you go ahead today, then I will actually take a further, whatever it might be. So you give an even further discount. So that way it becomes almost a no-brainer for them to say, well, yeah, absolutely. Because they've got so much goodwill. You've already established yourself as an authority and an expert. You spent time with them. You built that relationship. You've got the know, like, and trust factor. They can see that you clearly understand what you do and how you can help them. And therefore you are in a position of strength to be able to go and support them. So if you are looking at a fast, and I should emphasize as well, we used to do anywhere between probably 3 to 8 of those a week. Now that sounds like a lot. Yeah, it was. I was on the phone a lot. I was doing a lot of sales because we were selling that particular thing. We were selling people into that 90-minute session. And I was also doing a lot of coaching, a lot of training. Now, is that scalable? Well, we chose not to scale that ultimately. We then went down a different route where we moved people straight into a coaching program. But it could have been. And for people that like that model and they enjoy the one-to-one and the interaction, then absolutely. For me, doing that 8 times a week, it was a little bit too much. And so we may have scaled that. For those of you that think, well, how do I scale it? You scale it by training somebody else up to come in and take those sessions on. Would be the first step. Yes, you might lower the price for them, but it allows you to train somebody where you can then remove yourself from the process. Or you continue to increase the prices, or you move people into a coaching program would be one of those suggestions. But for us, it was a great way to start generating cash flow. It got us to 5k or so a month continuously. But then, just from that particular area, but then there was the courses and the mentoring as well. And so I think if I was starting again, and I was looking at a quick way of generating cash flow, and I was getting in there, I was having sales conversations, and I really wanted to also increase my knowledge and increase my skill set in delivering this and really being able to personalize it for people, then this would 100% be something that I would recommend and that I would go into again. So it might be something that you want to consider in your business. And this is key, if you have a process or you're kind of feeling out a process, if you feel low in confidence at the moment, because a lot of people come to us and they don't really have the confidence in what they're trying to get across here, or and that's just comes down to practice. It's just repetition. That's all it is. And so it's a great way to get practice. It's a great way to get repetition. And naturally, it's this thing. If you do it once or twice, you might be okay at it. If you do it 10 times, 15 times, 20 times, 50 times, 100 times, think how good you're going to be after doing it 100 times. And of course, as that demand goes up, so your prices can increase as well. Just something that you might consider. Hopefully it's been useful, and I'll see you in the next video.